Hello YouTube! What is good everyone? Welcome in to B Sports Network. We had a fun weekend of baseball. Let's dive right into it. So starting out on Friday, not too many big storylines, but Luis Arraez getting a game-winning RBI for the Padres over the Dodgers to take Game 1. He is having an insane start since the trade, batting .344 over 8 games. Also on Friday, the Yankees shut out the Rays. The Rays' first time being shut out all season. I believe that leaves just the Braves as the only team not being shut out in the 2024 season. On Saturday, Paul Skeens, one of the top prospects within that Pittsburgh organization, makes his debut. Goes 4 innings, 7 strikeouts, allows 6 hits and 2 walks for a 2.0 walks plus hits per inning pitched. Allows 3 runs over the course of 84 pitches. Solid outing, great debut. Pirates ended up picking up that game 10-9. And then the Orioles, extra inning win for them on Saturday. They went ahead, got the home run in the 8th inning. Santander blasted one to go ahead and tie the game up. And then Westberg hits the single to win the game in that first at bat, scoring the runner off a second to take Game 2 of the series. The Braves almost combined for a no-hitter. Max Fried went 7 innings pitched before having to be pulled due to his pitch count, which was up to 109 pitches. Jimenez gave up no hits in the 8th. Iglesias almost capped it off with 2 outs, gave up a home run and another hit to end up giving up 2 hits on the game for the Braves, coming up just 1 out short. They would still walk away with the game, just close to the no-hitter. Got to be a little sour not getting it. On Sunday, Giants win in 10 to take the home series. Casey Schmidt, in his 3rd game of the season, has played all 3 games against the Reds. Goes ahead, he gets his first hit of the entire season. It's an RBI double in the 10th. Wins the game for the Giants. They take the series there. The Marlins were able to steal a game against Philly in extras. Manuel Rivera pinch hit, single to win the game. Cubs were able to take their rubber match in the 10th inning against the Pirates. 5 combined runs in the 10th between the two, 3 for the Cubs, 2 for the Pirates. And then Tauchman had the game-winning run, get this, scored on a passed ball. Connor Joe led off the bottom half of the inning for the Pirates with a 2-run homer and kind of put a little bit of scare to the Cubs, but weren't able to capitalize on it. The Cubs walk away with that one. Then on Sunday Night Baseball, we all saw it on ESPN. 3-2 lead for the Braves in the 9th inning. 2-run blast from Brandon Nimmo. Pinch ran earlier in the game in the 7th. The only reason he was in that spot. Went ahead, took his first at-bat of the game, and clutched it up. The Mets win 4-3 to steal a game against Atlanta. Some full series recaps. The Braves won the series against the Mets on the road 2-1, winning the run differential 11-7, +4 on the series. Mariners take the series against the A's. That was a home series for them. They also take that series 2-1. Mariners outscored the A's 17-13. They split the first 2 games. Same score, opposites. Then 8-4 in the 3rd game, the Mariners were able to take the series. Padres ended up taking the series against the Dodgers. I believe their 3rd series win against the Dodgers already on this young season. Padres just have the Dodgers number right now. The run differential was 6-6. Both teams had a shutout. The Royals take a series on the road against the Angels. 3-1 in that series. Run differential +3, 19-16, a lot of scoring over the course of those 4 games. Angels, obviously without some key players. They've been missing them for a little bit. Injuries definitely bogging that team down. They could be a lot better. Trout was looking like a possible MVP candidate before he got injured. The Giants win their series against the Reds 2-1. Run differential being 13-10 there. Giants, that final match, remember, extra innings 5-4 was the final there at home. Rockies sweep the Rangers. The Rangers had a very difficult series there. Not something you expect to happen. Rockies showed some good promise. They have some solid players on that team, and they can improve throughout the season. We just haven't seen it so far. So that sweep, definitely surprising against the reigning champs. White Sox take a series against the Guardians. Another surprise here. They win that series 3-1, yet the Guardians still managed to take the run differential. That Game 4, a 7-0 victory for the Guardians, went ahead and gave them the advantage in runs for the series. Brewers take the series against the Cardinals. They also win 3-4. Huge scoring outburst from the Brewers. They end up winning that series on runs 26-10. The Astros took the series on the road against the Tigers, 2-1, outscoring them 16-13. The Phillies, 2-1 series against the Marlins on the road. Honestly expected a sweep there. The Marlins were able to steal that game. Phillies still doubled them up in runs 24-12. Yankees take the series on the road in Tampa, 2-1. Run differential being 14-13, really close game on runs. That aforementioned shutout, the first time the Rays have been shut out this season. Twins won their series on the road against the Blue Jays. There were 7 teams that won road series this weekend. The Twins, though, they kept things rolling on the road against the Blue Jays. 2-1 series win, 16-13 in the runs. They're looking solid lately. The Orioles win the series against the Diamondbacks. They take it 2-1. I believe that third game they lost 9-2. Yes, that's correct. So they lost that last game 9-2. Really sunk their run differential. They were only able to win by 2-1 in the previous matchups. That last game sunk it. Diamondbacks take the run differential. The Red Sox take the series against the Nationals. Nationals looking solid for where we expected them to be. This was the only series where both teams scored single-digit and runs combined across the 3 games. 8-9. Nationals beat them in run differential by 1, but it's a 2-1 series win for the Red Sox nonetheless. And then the Cubs take a divisional series on the road against the Pirates 2-1. A lot of good action there. We saw it was nice. And that brings us to our break series of the weekend. And we have 2 for you. The Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets. A great series between those 2 divisional rivals. Game 1 was a 4-2 game. 3 homers and 1 inning. Went ahead, put up all 4 runs for the Braves. The Mets were just not able to come back from it. Game 2, 8 2/3 with a no-hitter. Just barely wasn't able to cap it off. And then Game 3, Sunday Night Baseball under the lights. Last game of the weekend. The Mets finish it off. Take that game. Huge momentum swing. Can the Mets carry it? We'll have to see this week. But that was an absolutely insane series. Really fun to watch on both sides. Our second series. The Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Game 1, 7-2, not that close. Game 2, we had Skeen's debut. The Pirates stopped the Cubs' 9th inning comeback. Cubs were working on it. They scored a run, had a runner get all the way to third base before the final out, 90 feet short of sending it to extras. And then in Game 3, we did go to extras. 2-2 going into extras, 5 runs in that 10th, and the winning run coming on a passed ball. 2 really great series, and it's just what you love to see in baseball. Anyways, let's get over to our power rankings now. So a lot of movement you'll see in the power rankings. This is a 2-week power rankings. I didn't do anything last week. So this is over the course of the past 2 weeks. The Marlins, they did beat the Rockies, and they could have moved up, but trading away Arraez, and then they've just not looked so good. They're going to stick in that 30th spot. The White Sox drop 1 down to 29. You could argue that they should stay in that 28th spot, but them and the Rockies are fairly close. The Rockies, I think, have more promise within that team. Guys like Brenton Doyle, Charlie Blackmon, and Ryan McMahon. They still have solid players on that team. They can improve, I think. And if they build off of the sweep that they just completed, we could see them go further up in the rankings as soon as next week. Also have the Angels. The Angels staying still in 27. Injuries plaguing them. They would be higher if they were still playing with all their players, I believe. I think they would be winning more games. I think they would be higher up on this list, but they're just not there. The Pirates started off the season, looked really solid, surprised. Everybody thought that they were actually going to be something, and they've just not shown it since. They came out hot, fallen off. I have them at 26, down 6 spots. Huge loser on the week. Cardinals down 3 spots. Obviously, that injury to Wilson Contreras just sticks his glove out a little too far there. And it wasn't even like it was a little too far. The bat hits right on the center of his forearm. Anyways, they're 25. The Astros up a couple spots to 24. And they're playing the A's this week. So they could move up a spot above the A's, who are in 23rd. Both of those teams look good. I think the Astros might have more promise, but the A's are looking solid this season. And if the A's are able to take that series, they will stay above the Astros. The winner will depend on where things go, but both of those teams are looking okay. The Astros obviously underperforming, the A's overperforming, and they end up right there next to each other because of it. The Reds down 8 spots. I was looking really high on the Reds. I thought they were doing pretty solid a couple weeks ago, and just not the results we want to see. They just lost the series to the Giants, so you can't place them above the Giants now. They got to fall right below them. They were already falling close to that range, around 20 to 22 anyways. Go ahead, drop them below the Giants. I think they sit right there. I think 22 is very fair placement for them. The Giants, like I said, 21st. Very close series with the Reds. Some good games in there. They're close. Those two teams are very close. I think that 21st is deserving right there above the Reds. Keep those two teams together. Blue Jays down 3 spots into 20th. They did lose the series to the Nationals. Nationals are playing very solid, and you'll see them right above the Blue Jays actually, sitting there in 19th. Nationals are overperforming. I don't think if you asked anybody preseason, where do you think the Nationals would be, they would say where they're at right now. I think still a lot of places, a lot of companies, they're sleeping on them. I've seen them lower pretty much everywhere I've looked. They've stayed somewhere in those 20s. And we look at the playoff standings right now. Nationals are a game out of the wild card, given it's early, but they're still showing some promise. The Mets are 18th. The Mets, I had them a bit higher. I think I had them overranked a couple weeks ago. They looked okay, but they were really struggling. That last game against the Braves kind of brings them back, and you think that they could have momentum. They're going to be playing Philly, so that will be a huge test for them. We'll see how things go there, and definitely potential to move up in the rankings come next week. The Rays have had some solid games, solid performances from the Rays. They're on the move up 4 spots to 17. The Nationals, like I said, they were up 6. They're up 6. So one of the biggest movers, the second biggest mover, we'll see the biggest mover later on. The Reds were actually the team that dropped the most when they dropped 8 spots from 14 to 22. Tigers down 1. And it's not that they're having bad games. They're not winning too much, but they're also not losing bad. They're playing solid competition for the most part, and they're just getting the results that you would expect. They are a middle of the pack team. Like, you don't look at the Tigers and say, oh, they're great. Like, they have a chance to go on and win the World Series or anything. You're not thinking that when you're looking at a team like this, but they're doing what's expected of them. They are maintaining ground. They're right there at 500, and they're still a solid threat in the AL Central, honestly. I don't think they'll win the division, but I think they can compete there. Diamondbacks up 3 spots to 15. Diamondbacks have had some pretty solid performances recently, I believe. Yeah, they had the Orioles game. That one Orioles game, I have them moving up a little bit because of that. Not too much of a factor did that play, but they win the run differential game, which I think the run differential is huge because maybe you're a little bit slow. You lose a couple of close games, but then you dominate. Sure, your record's not going to be as good as a team that's winning close and losing by large margins, but you're showing that you're consistent and you have the ability to explode, and that's what I really like out of some of these teams. They swept the Reds on the road as well, and I had the Reds up a little higher last week or a couple weeks ago, so that definitely factors in and helps them out. They took one of 2 games where they played against the Padres with Luis Arraez and ended up close on run differential over those 2 games. They lost the first game without him, so I feel like 15 is about where they stand. They're close with the Tigers. In 14, we have the Red Sox. The Red Sox are a decent team. They just took a series against the Nationals. I thought that the Nationals would have a shot. Being a road series, though, I think that's why the Nationals lost it. If it was in D.C., I think the Nationals take that series against the Red Sox. The Nationals are a surprise on the season. Red Sox down 7. I was really high on them after what they did to the Cubs. That was very impressive to me. And just, they haven't been able to back it up. They dropped the 2-game series to Atlanta, dropped 2 of 3 against the Twins, and then they go ahead and they take a series against the Nationals, but Nationals just, they're not a huge team. Like, they're bottom half of the league. You're not going to weigh that result as much as you're weighing a Twins matchup or a Braves matchup, and they're not competitive against the top teams. Mariners down a couple spots to 13. They've been all right, back and forth over this 2-week stretch. They kicked off the 2 weeks with a win in a series over Atlanta. So if you remember how far back that is, you'll realize that 2 weeks is a decent bit of time. It feels like forever ago. But I have them down a couple spots because of what happened later on over the course of this 2-week period. I think 13 is about where they're sitting truly after the results recently. The Twins had that long winning streak, finally got snapped, but they're still a solid team. They're still competitive. They could win the AL Central. I've seen a lot of places have this Twins team in the top 10, as high as like 8, I believe, maybe 7. And they're really high on them. I don't think that they're as good as the Royals. Most places have them above them, but I think the Royals are still a better team. That's why I have them in here at 12. Got to keep them down there. The Brewers, leading the NL Central, down 6 spots to 11. Am I being a little brutal? Maybe. But when you look at it, they have recent series losses to the Cubs and the Royals, not the Rangers, but those two teams. You have series losses to two teams right next to you, and it's hard to keep a team in the top 5 when they're losing to other teams that, yes, they're good, but you're right there next to the Cubs or the Royals. I can't say, hey, I'm ranking you right above the Cubs. No, you lost to the Cubs. I can't say I'm ranking you right above the Royals. You lost to the Royals. So that's kind of their reasoning for the fall right now. They're still a solid team. I think they can improve throughout, but just recently, with some of those series losses to some of these other teams that are up here that they're competing with, they're just not in the top 10. And now, as we crank into the top 10, the biggest mover of the week, the Padres. Up 14 spots in the last 2 weeks. This does include the time frame when Arraez was traded over. A lot of places still have them in those low 10s, around 13, 12. I have them up at 10. This is a solid team. They just beat the Dodgers. They are looking good. They can do anything. They have not lost a series since getting Arraez. They also have not swept a series, though. So I think this team has potential, and I wouldn't be mad. I might be delusional. I might be on the hype train a bit too much, but I wouldn't be mad at anyone that says the Padres have a genuine World Series shot this season. I know that they traded away Soto, but Arraez was a huge pickup, that one slot, batting great, and the whole team is looking solid right now because you have other guys like you have Tatis and you have Machado. That team does not need to be slept on. I don't know why I had them at 24. I completely overlooked this team. They add one player, and it's not really a 14-spot move. I just had them a little undervalued. This team, though, they deserve a top 10 spot. They're back up over 500 and currently in that third wild card spot in the NL. The Royals, I have them up a spot here at 9, passing the Brewers after that series win. That's really the only movement I saw from them. The Rangers. Now, they had a very solid start to this past couple of weeks, but as we saw this weekend, tailed off, swept by the Rockies, and that kind of left me in a spot not knowing what to do with the Rangers because I had moved them up so high. I had them up at 7, maybe even 6. I'm not quite sure where I had them, but I had them up a little bit higher. They get swept, and you're forced to drop them, but it makes it hard to rank because that's just kind of a fluke series, you think. And when you look at it, you really can't do anything about the Rangers because they did beat the Royals recently. You know that those 4 teams are close, but the Brewers definitely have to be at the bottom. The Royals then have to be below the Rangers. So it just becomes, where are you putting the Rangers, where are you putting the Cubs? I would have had the Rangers above the Cubs if it wasn't for the Rockies series. But we're going to go ahead and slide the Cubs right here. We'll see them now in 7. Cubs just a solid team. They pick up that divisional matchup a lot closer with the Pirates than it should have been, I think. They have a tough series here against the Braves coming up. So that'll be fun to watch. They can prove themselves there. Definitely room to move up in the rankings depending on how they do. Guardians down a few spots to 6. They hung with the Braves. I like seeing that. That really made an impression on me. A close 2-1 series in a 1-run game in the third game to lose the series. They've held solid against good competition. They've had some rough series, though. They just lost to the White Sox, but won the run differential. They have power. They can do well, and maybe they're a little lower than 6, but based on their resume, I think you still got to keep them right there in that range. You could drop them a couple spots. I don't see them moving up at all, but I think 6 is about right for now. Yankees down 3 spots. I thought that they were the second best team in baseball. They really looked solid, and then they had that Orioles series right there after I had went ahead and put this power rankings out. That's why they're dropping. They had to drop below the Orioles. The Orioles are a better team than them. You move them up, and then some of the teams above them, it's not that the Yankees are doing bad. It's the teams above them are just better. I genuinely think there's a huge gap here between 5 and 6. I think the top 5 teams are your biggest World Series contenders at the moment. I think you have some outside shots. I wouldn't be mad if somebody said the Padres there, like I said earlier. I think the Royals, they have power in offense. I don't know if they can hold it down on defense. They've looked solid, but that defense could be shaky, and that'll be where things get kind of decided for them. I don't think they're quite at that level. The Rangers are easing back in that conversation to go ahead and repeat. But a lot of these teams outside of this top five, I just think that there's a pretty big gap between the Yankees and the Guardians. So I think the top five are your World Series contenders. And with that, let's go ahead and get into number 4, the Phillies. The Phillies are moving up. They have the best record in baseball. But I just don't think that they deserve to be any higher than 4. They're playing a fairly weak schedule right now. And while they're getting the results, you'll see the teams I have above them, and I don't think they're better because in third, we're going to have the Braves. I know it was a while ago, but the Braves kicked off the season. They beat the Phillies. They don't see each other for a while, which sucks with this new schedule format. But I think the Braves still have a better squad than Philly. They're 2 games back, so they're not separated by much. Both of these teams are some of the top teams in the NL. I have them second and third best. As y'all have probably noticed, Dodgers have not been named yet, and they're still not going to be named. The Orioles are second. I have the Orioles in second. I've seen MLB just put them up at first this week. And I think they're a solid team. They're a really good team, don't get me wrong. But I don't think that they're better than the Dodgers. Both of these teams are really good and quite possibly earn 1 seeds in their respective divisions. Anyways, that's all that I have for y'all, folks. Thanks for watching. It's been a good one. We'll look forward to the week. Be back here later this week. Probably tomorrow with some best bets. And yeah, signing off. Catch you tomorrow.